Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, brothers, I'm not always that serious, so wallahi, I love you all for the sake of Allah, and it's a real pleasure to be here in Kuwait. It's my first time in Kuwait. I've been to a lot of places around the world, some for dawah, some just visiting, a lot of the time studying in different places around the world, but always Kuwait is a place known as a place of people of knowledge. Mushari Rashid al-Afasi, other great scholars, great dua, calling to Islam. So it's a pleasure to be here, and even more it's a pleasure to learn that actually have the English-speaking khutbah and this year, because actually I've been living in Turkey for the last couple of years lately, and that's something that we've missed, is an Arabic-speaking khutbah even. It's been in Turkey, so I know what it's like to be living in a country and you need that charge every week. It's like a battery recharge every week to keep you going. So I'm very pleased, and I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then whoever is involved in especially those who have allowed this to happen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them and make it on the scales of good deeds on the Day of Judgment. Has anyone got any questions?
Sheikh, there are a few brothers who say that reading the Quran has more important in Ramadan than reading dawah. What's the position? Reading more dawah, reading the Quran more? How do you balance these?
Okay. So the question that the brother has asked is, some people say that there's more reward to read the Quran in the month of Ramadan, and he's asking, what is better, reading the Quran, giving dawah, what is better? I can only tell you that Ramadan is the month of the Quran. It's the month that the Quran was sent down. And when we say sent down, first of all, this is something we have to understand. The Quran was sent down Laylatul Qadr, okay, the night of power. But how was the Quran sent down? First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah has all the knowledge. Am I wrong? Allah has all the knowledge. And He has written all the knowledge. All that will happen and is going to happen is written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is already written. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had the Quran in the Lawha Mahfuz, which is the sacred tablet. And on the night of power, many years ago, that night that the Prophet ﷺ received the message, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all sent down the Quran as a whole Quran, as it is now. He sent it down to what we call the Bayt al-Izzah. And the Bayt al-Izzah, this is what the tafsir scholars say, and this is the most correct opinion on it, is that the Bayt al-Izzah is a Kaaba in the Sama al-Dunya, in the worldly sky. And it is where angels, tens of thousands of angels each day go through this Kaaba. Just as we have a Kaaba and we go around the Kaaba, these angels also have a Kaaba and they go through the Kaaba. In fact, the Kaaba, we used to go through it before Islam. Before Rasulullah ﷺ, they used to go through the Kaaba. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it first of all to there to let the creation of the unseen know that there was a prophet coming. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it down piece by piece in certain circumstances, in certain events that happen over a period of 23 years. So this is first of all the sending down of the Quran, and Ramadan is a month of the Quran. Now, answering the question of the brother, is that what I can say is that the scholars, definitely Quran is something that you have to read in the month of Ramadan, and you should try to read it as much as possible. The hadith scholars, Hassan al-Basri, or Imam Ahmed, rahimahumullah. They were the scholars of hadith. Okay, hadith scholars, they focus on hadith, they focus on the what we call ilm al-rijal, yani the knowledge of the men. And they would be working in hadith, finding out this one sahih, this one da'if, this one hasan, like this. And they would be searching in the different sanad of hadith and memorizing hadith. But when it came to Ramadan, close. They would close the hadith school and focus only on Quran. Subhanallah. That's how they were. Imam Shafi used to khatam the Quran, some say up to 3 times a day in the month of Ramadan. Imam Shafi. There are many narrations. So it is the sunnah of, you could say the sunnah of the mu'mineen pretty much. Yani that we read the Quran so much in the month of Ramadan. As for dawah, give dawah, there's nothing wrong, but try to get yourself one like this one, small one, you can keep it in your pocket. One of my sheikhs, a Somali sheikh, when I was in Yemen, he gave me just like this when I was first starting, and he said, keep it in your pocket and take it everywhere you go. And this is a good idea, keep it in your pocket, okay? When you go to the toilet, of course, put it somewhere safe. But apart from that, so to answer your question, brother, you can't say this is better than this, but definitely read your Quran as much as you can, and inshallah give dawah as well. Remember, dawah is more, it's actually more to do with actions than to do with words. You can say all you like, but if your actions are not matching what you're saying, then the dawah is not going to work. That happened to us once in the Gold Coast, when we used to invite non-Muslims to come and visit. And the Imam was speaking once, and one little old lady, she stood up and she said, oh Sheikh, she said, what you're saying is very beautiful, but I don't see it with the Muslims. So we have to put it into action. If we don't put it into action, what's the use? Inshallah, that answers your question.
Assalamu alaikum. I have some non-Muslim and a command, some non-Muslim working for him. So what can be the best ways if I want to give them Islamic dawah?
MashaAllah, beautiful question. The brother, he has non-Muslims working underneath him. This happened when I was in Yemen. First of all, I want to ask, do you have here in Kuwait, do you have like a propagation center, Islamic propagation center, where non-Muslims can come and ask about Islam? You have this?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, this is good. When I was in Yemen studying, I was also working at Islamic Propagation Center. And we used to get people coming to the center, but also we would get the bosses who had non-Muslims working for them. They would give us a call and say, look, can you come and talk to some of my workers, I'm going to put on some food for them, and we're going to come and talk. So we did that. And I remember there was some Indians, and they were working in the gold factories, and they invited us to come along, and we were discussing Islam with them. Subhanallah, one of them was so interested. I believe, Wallahu alam, did he become Muslim or not? But the important thing is not for us. The important thing is not that they become Muslim or not, but it's that we got the message out there. The message went out there. They understood Islam. They heard about it. They knew about it. If they accept there and then, alhamdulillah. Sometimes it might be just the start, and that used to be what happened many times. People would come, we'd talk to them about Islam, and then they would go off. Then they would come back again and talk about it. Then they would go off, and then we'd hear about 6 months later that they became Muslims. So the important thing is that you get the message out there to them. So the brother who has the non-Muslims working for him, what he can do is that he can organize a dinner for them, get a good speaker to come along, a good da'i, not necessarily a good speaker, but a good person who has a bit of wisdom, maybe from their own background, knows a little bit about what they're about, and also about what Islam's about, inshallah, and try and guide them to Islam, bi'idhnillah.
Jazakallah khair. Is the hadith da'if another part of tashri'ah? Can a ruling be issued based on the hadith da'if? Can you elaborate on some important aspects of hadith da'if?
Barakallah feek. Okay. The question is weak hadith, da'if. Yani da'if meaning weak narration. Is it part of Sharia, and can it be used, was it for rulings? Can it be?
For ahkam.
Yeah. Okay. Some important aspects. Okay. First of all, a da'if hadith is not of one type. There are many types of weak hadith. Okay. Not every hadith that is weak is fabricated. And sometimes we believe that weak hadith is fabricated, but that is not the case. Of the weak hadith, there is the fabricated hadith, which is the person who just made it up from himself. But of the weak hadith is, you see, the hadith scholars they were very strict, actually, extremely strict when it came to preserving the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If there was a person among the students of knowledge of hadith who had a weak memory, yani he wasn't 100%. He wasn't 100% Babit, as they say, yani 100% memorizing in his memorization. He was sometimes called da'if, he was called weak. Even though he was a good practicing Muslim, he was fasting, praying, he was a student of knowledge, but his memorization was not 100%, then he was called weak. Unless there was another, sometimes if there's a number of narrations and those type of people are in those narrations, but there's a number of them from different, what we call turuq, yani different streets or different ways that this hadith came. Because if you look at a hadith, you have the nas, which is the hadith itself, and then you have different chains coming down. So this one heard from this one, heard from this one, heard from this, actually it starts from the bottom. This one heard from this one, heard from this one, and up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This one heard from this one, heard from this one, heard from this one, up to Rasulullah. And these could be two different people. In fact, sometimes you might find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If there's 7 different people, and they lived in 7 different places, or they heard the hadith at seven different areas, then you can be pretty sure that hadith, even though there is a weak link in there, sometimes those hadiths will be lifted up to what we call a Hasan hadith. Okay? Now, when it comes to a weak hadith, can a ruling be used based on it? When it comes to fiqh rulings, not really, unless there is other dalil that is the same as that hadith. Okay, sometimes the scholars, they will use it if there is other dalil that is authentic that matches that. But just a weak hadith that there's no other dalil, there's no other dalil that goes near it, then no, they will not use it like that. I think I answered the question, inshallah.
What is really bid'ah? Some people call almost everything bid'ah. These days, exchanging Jum'ah Mubarak messages are common. Is this bid'ah?
That's a bid'ah question. Okay, what is really bid'ah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum. Today I have completed for you your religion. Okay? Bid'ah is anything that came into the deen after the hadith and the Quran had left us. Okay, basically, anything new that came into the deen. Some people will say, okay, minaret. Once I had this discussion with a brother about the minaret. He said, the minaret's bid'ah, it wasn't in the time of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I lived in Yemen and I had a car, and I said, subhanAllah, I said, Alhamdulillah for the one who invented the minaret, because the reality is that when I was driving around, you would hear the adhan and you're looking for the minaret, and where is the masjid? And it is, you could say like a sign of where a masjid is, If it's something like that, then there's no problem with it. But when we're talking about innovation, we're talking about something that is in the religion, something that has been made up by someone. For example, if someone says to you, okay, if you do 300,000 istighfars in this night, you're going to be rewarded with 10 camels, There's no sahih narration, there's no asl, there's no basis. When we're talking about bid'ah, we're talking about something that has no basis, okay? Not ikhtilaf. Sometimes it's ikhtilaf, okay? For example, I'll give you an example of this. In some places around the world, the dhikr after salah will be made out loud. Astaghfirullah, 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 Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam. Okay? We have been brought up to say it quietly to ourselves, but there is a narration, an authentic narration from Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, in which he said that we could tell when the prayer was finished because we could hear the dhikr. So definitely, as we were walking to the mosque, so definitely there was some sound. So we can't just automatically throw the book at it, bid'ah, because there is an argument there. There is an authentic hadith that is there. So we have to be, when we're talking about bid'ah, we have to go back to, is there any basis on what they're building their case upon? If there's a basis upon it, then we can say, okay, it's a matter of ikhtilaf, a matter of difference of opinion. But if there's no basis on it, then it's bid'ah, and it will not be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hang on, the Jummah Mubarak. Wallahi, in Yemen, everybody says Jummah Mubarak. It's a common thing. There are those who say it's bid'ah, there are those who say it's not bid'ah. Wallahu alam on the answer, to be honest with you. I see it bring a lot of smiles to people's faces. Is it from the deen? The Sahaba never, as far as I know, never said Jummah Mubarak to people. But Allahu alam, Allah.
Isn't it ruling one of the usul fiqh that al-asl في الأشياء الحلة إلا ما حرم الشرع. Everything is permissible except what Allah and His Messenger forbade. Is that right? That's true. Everything that everything is halal except for that which is haram. Allah and His Messenger made haram.
But if we're talking about ibadah, it's the other way around. When we're talking about ibadah, everything is haram except for that which has been made halal. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Which means that we should worship Allah in the manner that He wants us to worship Him.
Definitely. We have to follow. If we want to understand this deen correctly, we have to follow the Sahaba. We have to follow the Salaf of this ummah. When we say Salaf, I just want to clear up something here. This word Salaf, Salafi, whatever, this word, it's an Arabic word, and what it means is the predecessors or the first, it's in Arabic, it is those who came before you and were an example to follow. This is what Salaf means. Okay, so we say, I am from the way of the Salaf. I follow the way of the Salaf. We should all say this. Is there anyone who shouldn't say this? I follow the way of the Salaf. We follow the way of Rasulullah sallallahu and the companions and all those who followed them even up until today. We follow all of them.
Reading the Quran without understanding or translation, for those who don't understand Arabic, please elaborate. Which way is better in Ramadan? Definitely you should, either way, the best is of course to read it in Arabic. There is reward and much reward for struggling to read the Quran. And to be honest with you, brothers and sisters, the Quran is, I call it the bashar of the nafs. Why? Because there is no one in this world today that has the tongue of the Arab. Not even the Arabs have the tongue of the Arabic of the Quran. Okay, there's no one. Every single person in this world has to learn from a sheikh to be able to get the Quran proper and correctly. And there's nothing better to smash your nafs than to sit down in a halaqah with 10 people and each person reading half a page. Because in front of a sheikh, mind you, not just amongst you, in front of a sheikh. Why? Because he's going to pick, maybe he won't pick every fault, but he's going to find faults. And we don't like to feel as if we've, we don't like to have our faults picked. But, those who are humble and who are doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will go through that. I myself, when I was in the university, I used to sit in a halaqah with 10 Yemenis. And to be honest with you, their recitation was not so great either, and they were Arabs. And, we struggled years, putting a lot of effort in to try and get our Quran good. Even, to be honest with you, I struggled 6 years in Yemen with Quran, and when I went to Egypt, subhanallah, the Sheikh, I'll tell you the story. Sheikh Abdul Jawad from Alexandria. Sheikh Abdul Jawad, he's alim in the 10 qiraat of the Quran, the Egyptians, mashallah alayhim. And I went to his Quran institute, and it was like only 2 days a week you have to present something, and they had that in Yemen, in Egypt. And he said to me, Ya Sheikh Zain, Ya Sheikh Zain. He said, read for me something from the Quran, Ya Sheikh Zain. So I read to him Surah Al-Luqman. I thought to myself, I was up to there, and I thought, I read this. He's mashallah, 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 Ya Sheikh Zain. And he says to me, Ya Sheikh Zain, he said, I want you to come to my masjid every afternoon after Asr and sit there until Maghrib with me. I said, سمع مطاع, تحت أمرك, straight away I'll do that, So I went there, and I found that what I learned in Yemen was only just a beginning of the Quran. Even though I'd already memorized like 15 juz, and I'd studied tajweed, and I knew tajweed in theory. But when I went and sat with the great scholars of Egypt, I realized that I'd only just touched the surface. And even now, I've only touched the surface. And if I sit with anyone who's a professor in Quran, he's going to find mistakes. And this is what happens with Quran. So I advise everyone to push themselves. If there is any opportunity of joining a halaqah of Quran, go to it. And this is the best place to be. The angels are circling around you. You are getting barakah, you are getting rewards from each letter that you are reading. This is the best place to be, in the halaqahs of Quran. Also in Ramadan, if you want to read it in English as well, this is good. Some people I know, they read the Arabic and then they read the English translation afterwards. No problem. Do whatever you can and try your best, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Ramadan Kareem, may Allah bless you and guide us all.
Ramadan Kareem.
We have got into bank mortgage. We are a family of 8 living in North America. It's difficult to rent for 8 people because the rent is high. And moving one house to another, very inconvenient. We have old parents living with us. What can we do? Please advise.
Well, what can we do? I mean, you've already done what has been done. I mean, riba is, that's what we're talking about, yeah? Bank mortgage, yeah? I mean, it doesn't matter which way we look at it and what we try to tell ourselves, riba is haram. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Yani prepare yourself for war against Allah and His Prophet. Yani those who deal in interest. So definitely you're putting yourself in the firing line by going into interest and taking interest. If you've already done it and you're in this situation, I mean, these days there seems to be, I don't know about in America, I'm sure there should be, but in Australia we have Islamic finance, Islamic banking and Islamic finance. This is your safest option. I mean, I agree that you shouldn't rent your whole life and pay some kafir's house off. I mean, some non-Muslim. I also agree that this is not something that we should be wanting to do. So there is an option of Islamic finance, and I support that option. And you have to check first of all which bank it is, and not listen to just the whispers from every Joe and Mo, because they tend to whisper, and people tend to say, I've even heard people say, well, this bank, he works from the World Bank anyway, and he's dealing in interest and everything. And I've gone to that bank and I've asked them, Islamic bank I mean, and I've asked them and I've checked them out, and no, their money came from halal way, came from Malaysia, and it was all halal and everything. So I suggest the people in this situation, who are in this situation, I don't know how you can get out of it, but you need to try to change it over to an Islamic financing. Islamic financing is the safest way to go for you. They're saying it's halal. There are some people who say, it's bid'ah through it's riba through the back door, and there's all these sayings. But the reality is that the scholars, the ulama, in 1996, I think it was, they had a meeting in Mecca Mukarramah, and it was all the scholars of economics, Islamic economics in the world, and Sheikh bin Baz and others were there. I think it was 96, I can't remember, but it was a big conference that they had in Mecca, and they all agreed that the Islamic banking, the murabba, and the other way of Islamic banking, that this is permissible and it is a halal way. There is the question that we get in Australia, and I asked this myself, and that is that often the Islamic banking, you find that it works out the same amount of money. For example, you buy a house in Australia for $200,000 and you pay it off for 50 years and you end up paying $400,000. And if you did it through riba and you do it through the Islamic bank, it ends up the same. And then sometimes it even ends up more in the Islamic bank. And people say that to me, and I say, well, still go with the Islamic bank. I mean, at least you're going to be safe. But I had that question, and I was fortunate enough one day to sit with the owner of a bank in Nigeria, Islamic bank in Nigeria, and I asked him that question. I said, is there a reason why it has to be the same? Like, can't you make it a little bit less? then people will, more people will take loans from you, more people will go through your bank, and you'll do better in your banking, And his answer was, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. His answer was that Allah has made buying and selling halal, and He has made riba haram. And this is true. In the Islamic banking way, what happens is, in some cases, the bank will buy the house and then he'll sell it back to you for a higher price. Okay? And this is halal. This way is halal. And so I don't know if there is a reason economically why they have to make it the same price. But honestly, I wish they would make it a little bit cheaper. It would be more affordable and it would be more accessible to Muslims around the world.
I share that feeling with you. I wish they do that, make it more attractive.
Yeah.
How do we spend the interest received in bank accounts? Is it allowed to give it to Islamic charities? And what is the best way?
Riba that you receive in bank accounts, first of all, what I will say is that the ruling on the riba that is, first of all, you should try to get yourself an Islamic bank. Try to bank with an Islamic bank. You don't want to give your money in a bank that is involving riba. However, if you're in a situation where there is no Islamic bank and you have to have an account that will get interest, what you do with that money, first of all, is that you're basically getting rid of that money. And you give it in charity, but there is no reward for it for you. You do not get any reward for giving it. What is called is you're freeing yourself from this money. So you can give it in any type of charity. Give it to the poor, give it to Masjid, give it to anywhere. Now, some people argue and say, well, this is out of the question, build a Masjid on riba and stuff like this. But in Usul al-Fiqh, we have what is called قواعد الفقه. There is one ruling in قواعد الفقه which basically means that this money now is riba, okay? And I give it in charity to this brother, he's in need, and I give it to him, okay? This money now has changed from being haram money to halal money now. It's halal for him. Halal for him to take, to spend, to do whatever he wants with it in a halal way. Okay, this is one of the rulings of fiqh, is that when you change the ownership of something, okay, I owned it, when I owned it, it was haram. But when I gave it to him, it became halal. Preferably, I would prefer to give it to the poor and those who are in need, rather than give it to building masjid. It could be used for, maybe schools and stuff like that, but I would prefer that. But the ruling in Sharia is that once it leaves my haram hand and it goes to his hand, it becomes halal for him to do what he wants with it.
Brothers, just for sisters, we've sent some papers, you can write questions as well. Could you speak a little on different modes of da'wah? Youngsters like my kids are confused between Tabligh and Hadith and other groups.
Okay. Different mode of da'wah. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wa mau'izatil hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? He says, invite to the name of your Lord, or to the path of your Lord, invite to the path of your Lord with wisdom and the best speech, and debate them and that which is better. If you look at Zainadine, you'll see exactly that. Wisdom and the best speech, and debating that with that which is better. This is the way of da'wah, okay? You have to use wisdom. You have to use the best of speech. At the beginning of Islam, the ruling was just قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ. Yani get up and invite the people. But later, as we see that verse, yani invite with wisdom and the best of speech. So there has to be some manners there. There has to be some hikmah behind it. When I say hikmah, wisdom, you need to look at, for example, whenever you're giving dawah, the first thing you should try to do is analyze the person that you're talking to, okay? Analyze that person. Is he a Christian? Is he an atheist? Is he a communist? You know, try to find out, is he a Buddhist? Because if he's a Buddhist and you're talking to him about Christianity, then there's, you know, you're wasting your breath. And you need to analyze that person first of all and try to find out, okay, well, what is this, you know, what does this person believe? And then go to, for example, an atheist. If you come across an atheist, the way that you're going to give dawah to an atheist is through the mu'jizat al-Quran, the miracles of the Quran. Okay, you're not going to talk to him about the Bible and Christianity like from Ahmed Deedat, no, because he doesn't believe in it anyway. Okay, what he believes is that there is no creator. So you have to prove to him that there is a creator. And the way to go through that is through the miracles of the Quran. There are many verses pertaining to the miracles of the Quran, and a good da'i should have those under his belt. I studied, alhamdulillah, under Sheikh Abdul Majid al-Zainadine, and Sheikh Abdul Majid was, he's still alive, alhamdulillah, even though they're after him, but he's still alive. And he for many years is the number one person for the miracles of the Quran. I think now probably the Egyptian scholar, is it Zaghlul? The Egyptian scholar Zaghlul is, I forget his first name, but sorry? Najjar, yeah. Najjar, yeah. Yeah, he's probably the best now. So read up on it, inshallah. When we talk about the sister or the brothers saying we've got youngsters like my kids who are confused between Tabligh and Ahl al-Hadith. First of all, I want to make something very clear to everybody. And that is that if you're in a Jamaat, okay, there's many Jamaats in the Muslim Ummah, okay? But look at your Jamaat and ask, is my Jamaat, is it inviting to Islam? Is it teaching, is it calling people to Islam? Or is it calling people to my Jamaat? Because if it's calling people to my Jamaat, then this is creating divisions in Islam, okay? You have to be with those who are calling to Islam, not attached to any Jamaat. You know, it is okay to call in a Jamaat. You can have a Jamaat, and you know they can be together, and they can be working together and financing together, and that's fine. But the key mistake that we're making, and the bottom line is that Jamaat should not be trying to keep himself alive and bring people to his thing so that they can have this, and no. The goal is Islam, not the Jamaat. Sometimes you go into a mosque and you say, Assalamu alaikum akhi. He says, Wa alaikum salam. He says, are you Jamaat Tabligh? You say, no. And he says, okay. He don't want to talk to you anymore. This is wrong. This is, of course, very wrong. I once had a brother in Yemen, we finished the prayer, he come up and he said, Ya akhi, are you Salafi as well, akhi? I said, look, I'm a Muslim, okay? I'm a Muslim. That's what I am. And that's what we should all be. We should all be Muslims. Yeah, we should follow the madhab of the Salaf. We should follow the way of the Salaf. And I mentioned to you what the Salaf is. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ and the Prophet ﷺ. But personally myself, I say you should not label yourself as anything but a Muslim. And you should say even mu'min, inshallah. You say, I am a mu'min, inshallah. Because you don't even know if you're a mu'min. A mu'min is someone who has a high amount of iman. So you say, inshallah I'm a mu'min. I'm a Muslim, and inshallah I'm a mu'min. But don't go labeling yourselves. I feel this is dividing the ummah. And it is causing a lot of divisions and trouble in the ummah to label yourselves. Ahl al-Hadith, Tabligh, whatever, okay. If your Jama'ah is called that, then call to Islam. Don't call to Tabligh, don't call to Hadith, Ahl al-Hadith. Don't call to Ikhwan, don't call to this whatever it is that you're calling to. Call to Islam. Do it because you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and because you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you. Wallahi, in Turkey, one brother, I was sitting in an office and one brother, there's a lot of Sufis in Turkey, and one brother, he said to me, in front of everybody, he said, you don't like Sufis, you don't like the Sufis, yeah? And all the people in the office were Sufis, And I said to him, look brother, I love those who love Allah and who Allah loves. That's who I love. After that, he didn't say anything. And wallahi, that man respected me so much after this that he even came to me many times, and he started to talk to me often. And he's another student of knowledge, another sheikh. And we became friends in a sense, because we shouldn't label ourselves, okay? You love those who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who Allah loves. Those who are the people of Tawheed, those who are loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Brothers, do you have more patience for more time, or we conclude? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 10 minutes? Is that okay? Okay, 10 minutes. There's a question which is about youth. How do they... please give some advice for young Muslims to become better Muslims and strengthen our Iman. There's this interesting question, just to what you said just now. You mentioned loving people for the sake of Allah. And this even applies to your spouse and family. Is this the best thing to do even if the spouse or family member is not completely following his or her Islamic duties and conduct? Tricky.
Okay. First question, give some advice for young Muslims how to become better Muslims and strengthen our Iman. So it's from a young Muslim, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you first of all. Wallahi, I feel for you, brother, and I feel for all of our youth today. I have a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. May Allah bless them and bless all the Muslims. The time that we're living in today is extremely difficult for the youth, and I actually made a lecture or a halaqah on Huda TV once, and it was for the youth, and I suggest you try to look it up and try to watch it, because I'm very sure that there is a war against the Muslim youth, and this is a war of corruption, and they are trying to corrupt you at any cost, starting in school, going through universities, in the streets, on the billboards, everywhere. There is a war against Muslim youth, and those who want to hold on tight to the deen, I commend you, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep you firm in this, because really the best thing for you to do is to, like I said, start with the Quran. In many countries today, in many places around the world, many things are prohibited from the government and different things, different places. In many places in the world, even something like this is prohibited. Questions and answers, prohibited. China, they're not even allowed to fast. In fact, they have to break fast in Ramadan. They give them alcohol and in the communist areas. So what you have to do is to begin with the Quran. But I'll give you hope, my young brothers. I'll give you hope, my young brothers and sisters. In my time, I had a student with me. He was from what is called Turkmenistan Shaqiya, which is it's something that is occupied by China, but it was a Muslim land, and they are so far under occupation that they are not allowed to go to the masjid. They're not allowed to do any of this. But this brother, mashallah, if you listen to him recite, you would think he was Mushari Rashid al-Afasi. So I asked him one day, Akhi, mashallah alayk, your Quran is very nice, Where did you learn? He learned under the ground. So what do you mean? He said, I learned under the ground. I said, oh, you mean like underground, He said, no, under the ground. His sheikh dug a cave in the ground. Yeah. His sheikh dug a grave in the, a cave in the ground, and he would go to his sheikh in the cave every day at a certain time, so that the authorities would not see him, memorizing the Quran, and he took the Quran from that sheikh, from under the ground. So this is a hardship. But this brother, mashallah, he was an example of Islam, really, to follow. And he had good manners, and the Quran, I say to all the youth, begin with the Quran. My two sons, they both, alhamdulillah, have finished the Quran. They khatam the Quran, alhamdulillah, in Egypt. And this was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was a gift, and we put a big party on for them with their friends, the other Quran students and everyone. When they khatam the Quran, make a big deal of it, make a big deal of it. And parents, get your kids involved in the Quran. I mean, you're in Kuwait here. You've got Mushari Rashid al-Afasi. I don't know, but I imagine there must be other places where you can, and many places where you can probably learn the Quran and learn it well. Just from me being here the last couple of days, or one day, I have heard some good reciters and some very good reciters. So which proves to me that there must be good schools here, good Quran schools. So I say to the youth, first of all, get yourself involved in memorizing the Quran, in learning the Quran. The Quran is a purification of the heart, okay? The Quran is a purification of the heart. Just by reading the Quran, you're purifying your heart from sins, okay? You're cleansing your heart. And if you look in Egypt, when the oppression was upon them for many, many years, the thing that kept them strong was the Quran schools, was learning the Quran. And even now they're trying to shut those down. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help and keep the Quran alive. And the Quran will be alive as long as there are people memorizing it. Because these schools don't just run themselves. There has to be teachers. So the youth, I advise you, go and enroll yourself with a Quran teacher, and also brothers, and I'm going to put the responsibility on the adults here, okay? You guys have to put your money fi sabilillah. That's the reality, okay? Open up your wallets and start making Quran schools. There are teachers everywhere. There are so many Quran teachers. And there are teachers from Egypt, teachers from Syria now, who are misplaced and they need places to work. They will work, no problem. They would love to work. And if you want your children to be the next generation of good believers with good akhlaq and good manners, then you need to put your money into Quran schools, tahfidh, these types of things. Wait, there was another question.
For your information, Sheikh and Quran, brothers here, that our community, we have an active program working with youth, making them love Quran, teaching them the manners to be better Muslims and better human beings. And inshallah, that program at the moment is on holiday, but we will resume in September, inshallah. And the information will be made available to you in due time.
May Allah reward you all and keep you strong, inshallah.
And Kuwait, as you said, mashallah, there's almost in every mosque there is halaqat al-Quran.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. That's it?
Yeah, there's another question that you gave me. Ramadan Kareem, you mentioned loving people for the sake of Allah, and this...
What if members of the family are not practicing Muslims?
Yani, I take the view that there is no such thing as a non-practicing Muslim. Yani, either you're a Muslim or you're not a Muslim. Come on, is there such thing as a not? I'm a Muslim, but let me ask you a question. If I told you I was a mechanic, but I don't fix cars, would you trust me? Really? If you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, you're not a Muslim. Let's face it. Okay? Yeah, there's weakness in Iman, and there's laziness, but there's no such thing as I'm a Muslim that doesn't practice Islam. No. If you're a Muslim that doesn't practice Islam, then I'm sorry. You're kidding yourself there. You're kidding yourself, really. Because a Muslim is someone who surrenders to Allah. Have you surrendered to Allah? If you are not doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you to do, if you are not praying your 5 prayers, if you are not giving your zakat, if you are not fasting, if you are not making hajj, are you doing have you surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The idea, the word Muslim means the one who surrenders. So we have to surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it says about loving those, okay, look, even if we're talking, okay, here the person I believe is talking about someone who's not practicing completely, okay, completely. We all have weaknesses in Iman. And when it comes to someone from the family who's going through hard times, going through struggles with the deen, the job for you is to try to help them. Now, the hadith says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفس. The hadith says that no one has truly believed until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Okay? And in this hadith, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentioned that, of course, loving for your fellow Muslim brother what you love for yourself, but also and the last what you could say stage is loving humanity what you would love for yourself. What would you love for yourself, for humanity? And that is guidance. Okay? You would love for humanity to be guided. Allah gave you the guidance, yeah? Allah allowed you to be a Muslim, okay? So you should love that for other people. You should love that other people are guided, especially your family. So you should love that they be guided. When it comes to loving them, even when it comes to non-Muslims, I think we're sort of getting into al-wala wal-bara, yani love. It is translated as love and hate for the sake of Allah, but it's actually more to do with allegiance. Okay, it's more to do with being allied and being non-allied. Okay, al-wala wal-bara, rather than this love and hate, which we often translate it as. And when it comes to that situation, you may have parents who are non-Muslims, you may have relatives, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your relatives, and you have them, and you have this love for them, because they happen to be your relatives. And that's okay in Islam, that you have some love. This is called natural love. But the love that you don't have for them is the love that they succeed in their disobedience to Allah. You don't have this love for them. If you have a relative who's drinking alcohol, you still love that relative, but you don't love for him to succeed. You don't help him in any way. You don't assist him in any way of doing that. You don't advise him to do that. If he says, "Can you give me a lift? I want to go to the disco." No, I'm not giving you a lift. Nothing. I think that what you're doing is haram, and you should stop this. And this is the love that you have, and that you love for someone to be guided. I hope that answered the question, inshallah.
Two last questions, and we conclude by it. One of them is a practical question. Some Muslims from Muslim countries prefer to migrate to Western countries. As a sheikh from a Western country, how do you see this?
First of all, this is a very common thing. And first of all, I'd have to say that wallahi, the oppression that is upon the believers in most Muslim countries, I would say most, is immense. I felt it myself. You get put in jail, you get locked up at airports, you get rejected, you get told you can't have a job unless you have a beard, and these are in Muslim countries. Then you go to the Western countries, and honestly, you don't have so much of a problem in that sense. But at the same time, the Western countries, first of all, it is a poison, it's going there, all right? It is a poison. You may be strong, you may have iman, and you may be able to handle it, but your kids will not be able to, okay? Your kids, you're going to put them in a school. Most likely that school, if you've got a lot of money, then you can put them in the Muslim school. But even in the Muslim schools inside the Western countries, at least I know in Australia, that 90% of the Muslim schools, you find some of the worst behavior going on inside the schools. And it's just the same as them being in another school, but just unfortunately with Muslims. So the reality is that you have to think of your children, you have to think of the future. Now, when it comes to migrating to a Western country, first of all, I would say that there's no better place to be than amongst the Muslims. Wallahi, you guys don't know what you're up to, what you're up against if you go there. In the Western world, we have to, when we go shopping, we have to check every detail of what is on this packet of noodles that we're buying, every detail that is on this chicken stock, every detail that is on this, because there is pork in everything, even in the bread. You can't just go to the shop and buy a loaf of bread. No, you have to go, you have to search. Alhamdulillah, some people, mashallah, made it a little bit easier for us, and they did the research and they put it on the internet and said, okay, this is haram, this has got pig, this has got pig, this has got pig, this one's got gelatin with pig, this one, But I mean, this is how we live. This is how we live over there. If you want to hold on to your deen, if you want to just let yourself go, that's a different story. But if you want to hold on to your deen and you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're heading into the depths of shaitan. If we take a look now, and Ya Rab, save us. Now we have, just 1 minute, brother. Now we have homosexuals allowed to get married. And people are applauding and jumping up and down out of joy. That homosexuals can get married now in the Western countries. And this is ludicrous. This is ludicrous. I had a young brother, just quickly. A young brother came to me in Egypt, and he'd been studying in the American university or the American consulate. And the teachers had been messing with his mind, and he came to me. He was a young brother, 17, and he said, Sheikh, I've got some questions and some doubts about Islam and stuff, and he said, why do we kill the homosexuals in Islam? Why do homosexuals get killed in Islam? And I said, look, brother, the reality is that it is a severe punishment, first of all, to deter people from not doing it, first of all. Second of all, homosexuality, it will destroy the humanity. Because if everybody becomes a homosexual, then there's going to be no more children. And humanity will just dissolve. And the reality is that the brother, he said to me, yeah, but he was a biologist, and he said, yeah, but Sheikh, now they've got this scientific study now that it's only going to affect, at the most, it's only going to affect 8% of the population, and it's never going to go over that. I said to him, Akhi, wallahi, may Allah give you wisdom. I said, I've been around 42 years, and I can tell you now that when they used to say to us in the West, they used to say to us, Sheikh, or this is before I was a Sheikh, they used to say to us, why aren't you allowed to eat pig? Why can't Muslims eat pig? We say, because Allah said that we're not allowed to eat pig. That's enough for us. They say, yeah, but why? What? Now, and they come out with the scientific research. They say, okay, scientific research says that now we've got the thing that is able to get rid of the bacteria worm that is in the pig. So we can make the meat. Yes, they agree that the pig is a filthy animal and it has worms, but they're saying now that with science we are able to take out that worm, and now we can eat the pig. So why don't you eat the pig? So I said to him, look, we don't eat the pig because Allah said to us not to eat the pig. That's why we don't eat the pig. And then time went on, and then all of a sudden something happened in the world. Something changed. The pig flu, the pig virus, people dying, people in panic, nations in panic. People, they slaughtered millions of pigs, because of the pig flu, and and it all came from the pig. And then they stopped asking us. Then they stopped. Even I knew Christians who would say to me, "That's it. I'm not eating pig anymore. I've had it with this pig. And Allah is the all-knowing. Science are wrong. Science makes mistakes. Science take educated guesses, and then they find out later on that, hang on a minute, yeah, those Muslims were right. That's what happens all the time. And I said this to the brother, that's what's happening with this homosexuality thing. I said, I'm going to give you my telephone number now. And I said, in 20 years time, I want you to call me and to say, Sheikh, you were right. Because you're going to find out that number 8% has now risen to 28%. And there's a major crisis happening. And this is the reality.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Obviously these are really real issues and practical, and it's a challenging thing to go to the West and raise children with the attack on morality, as our Sheikh just referred to one topic, how there is it's a systematic, that to legalize what Allah has made haram, and to make what is naturally wrong be acceptable. It's not just by chance. There is a war on morality.
Definitely.
Okay. The last question is a fiqh question, and also I think it's relevant to some of the Muslims who live in the West and here. Imam Abu Hanifa, this is again needs to be verified, allowed selling alcohol to the disbelievers living in Dar al-Harb. But Imam Ibn Hanbal did not permit it. Which is the correct opinion? And there's another question which is, there are different opinions among the scholars. Which one can we follow? Can we follow either one of them?
I am on the opinion that whoever has said that Abu Hanifa allowed people to drink, to sell alcohol to non-Muslims, that he has to come with evidence.
Exactly.
Because I don't believe this. I don't believe that Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, the Imam, the great Imam, would say anything like this. Those of you who don't know, You know, a lot of people, they tend to think, I'm going to take madhab Hanafi because it's a little bit easier, you know. This is not correct. In madhab Abu Hanifa, Bab al-Murtad, yani the chapter of apostating in Islam, he states that anyone who is told that something is sunnah and he says that no, I'm not going to follow that sunnah, he's an apostate. And the Bab and the madhab Abu Hanifa, okay? If you are told that something is sunnah and you say, yeah, it's sunnah, but I'm not going to follow that, then you are an apostate according to madhab Abu Hanifa. So Abu Hanifa is not a weak madhab, and I don't believe that Abu Hanifa passed this ruling. And if he did, we would need to look at it, but I really don't believe it.
Jazakallah khair. There are very interesting questions. I apologize to the brothers, time is limited. God willing, tomorrow, if we have time, the Sheikh is going to have a lecture here, and we may refer those questions to him. Thank you very much for your patience, and I'd like to thank Sheikh Zainadine for this beautiful presentation and for his patience. Thank you everyone. Assalamu alaikum.